be a description of the Quickdraw weaving program's ability to do photorealistic threads. This is the output of a conversation we were having a bit ago. Comparing the same pattern in a drawdown versus a photograph of the woven product. It just doesn't feel like it's close. So, what this is exploring is if I can take a picture of the finished product, I should be able to take an image of the threads and create a drawdown based on that. So that is what this does, and it actually uses images of the threads and it automatically rotates them and zooms them when you scroll back and forth. What I'd actually done is a series of sample cards, just winding the threads we wanted to use. And what I then did is zoom in, scroll over, get a copy of the thread, and I am using Paint to open that particular image, so I'm working at a pretty low level on things. I keep zooming in. So what I conceptually want to do is grab a picture of an image, the picture of the thread. Now, if I'm pretty careful, I try and catch, make sure I've got a parallel thread. It's off by a little bit. And I want to start about the same point in the twist, because when it runs past the end of the image, it's going to recycle and repeat it. So once I crop that, I've now got a thread image I can play with. So if I do a save as a bitmap, and what I'm going to do is put those in the same directory with the image that I'm playing with. So what I'm actually what I'm playing with there is the A1 sample off the card. So if I hit the save, it will replace it, and I'm going to say no. The copy I've already got there is a little bit more careful. If I do an undo, it gives me back the original whole image. And I can then zoom out, scroll in again, and pull a copy of each one of the successive threads. And when I'm done, what I have in that directory is a series of threads, so that each one of the color samples, originally I had actually taken 5 different copies of it with slightly different twists, so I could pull out straight lines so that I could get the threads on a horizontal, so I used several of those. So what I've actually got is that series of threads that I can now identify. And if I want to use those in Quickdraw, so I'm going to do a copy on that file name. And then when I go back to Quickdraw, when I go back to the color editor screen, I can tell it I want to use, when I unclick, that basically says I've lost that thread image. When I now click it, it's going to paste that file name into there. When it does that paste, it's also going to recreate the images, the color here for it, so that the color that's represented actually reflects the bitmap that it's playing with. And so now that's what it's going to do when it tries to draw, thread 7 of the color that it's looking for. If I look at that thread, for example, it's color index 5, so that would be that color, and it's actually going to use that bitmap, and it's going to rotate the bitmaps and zoom them so that that's what I get in the image. And it's not as good as the original is looking at the scanned cloths, because there are a lot of things happening there. But it gives you a little bit more of a realistic idea of what the threads are actually going to look like, not to mention that it's actually going to reflect the color.